Hello, and welcome back to another chapter of Organic Ghost Detector by Dragons Are Cool on AO3. Chapter 6, EMFer. A late night still never stopped Impulse from being up at the crack of dawn, as much as he wished he could sleep in like the others. But the sun was up, and so was he. So he got up and went about his usual business of finding a place for breakfast and getting them on the road. When they stopped, Skiz and Scar met him outside, pushing him back so they could close up the truck again. "He's out cold, man," Skiz explained. "We'll get him up for lunch later." Impulse frowned at him. "He's okay, Impulse." Skiz pushed him in the middle of his chest as he turned him back towards the cafe he found. "Let's grab some food and get back on the road." "Okay." Impulse relented. "You guys sleep okay?" "Like a baby." Scar stretched out a bit before setting his cane back on the ground. He joined Skiz in herding Impulse along so they could get back on the road to home. By the time they stopped for lunch, it was raining hard, so despite finding a nice park to stop near, they opted to leave lunch in the truck rather than getting soaked through. So Skiz and Scar were sat up on the lower two hammocks, happily munching away at their meals, and Impulse was at the computer reading up on something he distractedly picked at his own lunch. His attention was split between the reading he was doing and the avian he was doing the reading for, still laying in the hammock above and behind him. "You gotta eat something, G," Impulse gently poked Green. Green had yet to move from where they'd put him the night before, but he was at least awake again, and he hadn't touched a sandwich. He groaned and complained. "I don't know if I'm cut out for this, guys." "Do you think you're getting sick again?" Scar wondered. 3 hunts in a row? Doesn't seem likely. Begrudgingly, he sat himself up a bit and started opening his sandwich. "And I don't even feel sick. It just kinda hurts, and I'm so tired." Impulse hummed and turned his attention back to the computer again. He'd been scouring the GIN database all morning while Skiz drove them along. "Have you ever considered you might be EMF sensitive?" "What do you mean?" Green asked through a mouthful of food. Impulse coiled his tail around the leg of the stool, content now that Green had finally started eating something. He clarified. "Like, that might be why you're so much worse off than the rest of us after a haunt, and why you're so good at identifying them." "That doesn't make sense." "Well, look here." Impulse tilted the computer screen up a bit, and Green rolled over to look. This entry on the GIN describes pretty well what it looks like you go through after each hunt. Calls it EMF sensitivity. They describe excessive jumpiness, troubles crossing into the haunt, tendency to get tired quicker during the investigation, and soreness and fatigue in the days following exposure to an active haunt. He rattles off. Green squinted, looking between Impulse and the screen. "But isn't EMF just like light and stuff? I don't have problems with it like any other time." Energy for motion field. I skipped a paragraph. "Ah." Impulse leaned back and smacked Skiz painfully on the back of his head as the angel started giggling. "No, well, yes, it is, but not with ghosts. Our EMF stands for Energy and Motion Field or something like that." "Energy for motion field," Skiz piped up, "or force sometimes." not everyone agrees. Right, doesn't matter too much, Impulse continued. It's just a really fancy way of saying how strongly a ghost can interact with the physical world around it. Mostly like throwing things around and stuff. Okay, so I'm what? Allergic to ghosts then? Impulse hemmed and hawed a bit and squeaked out yeah, kind of. Great. How am I supposed to investigate then? Green flopped back into his hammock, sending it swaying. We'll just have to manage your exposure a bit carefully. And you might build up a bit of a tolerance as you get used to it. Impulse turned back to the computer. But, according to this entry, you're not the only investigator with this, predicament. It says here the teams with folks like you are glad to have them. Skiz read over Impulse's shoulder. And looks like some of them can also hear ghosts without a spirit box or see ghost orbs. That'd be pretty neat. We all see the ghost orbs. Green flopped back in the hammock. You found them this time before I did. They mean without cameras, though. Impulse continued scrolling through the GIN database pages of EMF, and so missed Green raising his head again to look at him. What do you mean without cameras? Skiz and Impulse both looked up at him with incredulous expressions on their faces. Scar just started snickering. You mean you aren't using the cameras? Skiz cried. No, Green puzzled back. I mean, they show up in the camera too, but you mean you can't see them just... He waves his hand. Around? No, we can't. Impulse deadpanned as he looked over to the giggling Vex, sitting further back in the truck. I was wondering how long. Scar managed past his laughter, and I thought you two were supposed to be the observant ones. What are you on about, Scar? Impulse sighed, fighting back a smile. He's never grabbed a camera. Scar laughed. Not once. Come on, seriously? Skiz lamented. And you didn't think to tell me? Crean scolded lightly. I thought you knew. Scar held up his hands in defense, but scrambled to catch his sandwich after almost knocking it off his lap in the process. Scar! Crean whined. Why didn't you tell me it wasn't normal? I thought you knew, he repeated. It was in the packet thingy they gave us. Scar, you know I don't read. Scar shot back. Green shot back penitently. Of course you don't. Impulse dropped his head into his hands. Green let Impulse pout, and Scar and Skiz worked through their giggles, because of course the angel had caught them too, before asking his next question. So, if it's an EMF thing, is that why this haunt felt more? Because of the EMF 5? That was the piece of evidence they'd been missing from the Obake. What do you mean more? You know, that feeling when you cross into a haunt. Green waved a hand vaguely about. For argument's sake, can you describe it? Impulse raised an eyebrow at him as Green flopped back in his hammock rather dramatically. You can't feel the haunts either, can you? He grumbled. Sorry, buddy. Skiz reached up to pat his back. Does explain your track record with scouting, though, Impulse posted. Can you describe it? Scar asked again curiously. Green wrinkled up his nose. It, like, that feeling after you fly too hard or run, I guess, he amended. Kinda like static and anxiety. It's not very pleasant. You sure you want to do this? Skiz asked. Green rolled over to look down at him, upside down. Yeah, he answered simply. I want to. Alright. Skiz poked him in the nose, causing him to retreat back into his hammock. But if you're ever feeling not up to it, you can be the guy in the van anytime. I'll keep that in mind. They hung out quietly for a while after that. Impulse finally turned away from the computer and to his neglected lunch. Satisfied that they figured out what was up with Green, or at least this one particular thing that was up with Green. Hey, wait a minute! Impulse looked up at Green again. Did you actually not read the packet? Of course I read the packet. I don't have a death wish. Green shot back indignantly. Okay. Impulse raised his hands. Then how did you not know you need a camera for orbs? Green grumbled. I don't know, it's not like I was taking notes. Green! You were a scout! How did you not know this already? Skiz was right back in the muck of this revelation with him in a moment. A scout trained by Timmy, Green pointed out. But, no, that's fair. Skiz conceded. Don't tell him I said that. He's absolutely gonna tell him. Scar smirked. If Scar doesn't beat me to it. The man in question just shrugged, feigning innocence. And that is the end of Chapter 6.